Hello everybody and welcome back to Chain's Daily Model. This is day 27, and today I am making a SkyBlossom. What is this plant, you ask? I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But for now, I started off by making a geometry node setup so I can easily shape the leaves however I want just by using simple curves. I then duplicate the curves around to get the general shape and the volume of the plant. I go around duplicating, pushing, and pulling vertices until I get something that I'm proud of. I then check the face count and decide it's way too high, so I have to simplify the model. I do that by going back to the geometry node setup and changing a bit of the values, resampling the curve, changing in general the poly count. So not only the thickness but also like the width, I have to decrease the amount of loops that there are. After that, I decided to add a bit of a twist. Quite literally. I then distributed points on the curve so I could then instance planes on these points. This is so I could add some more volume to this SkyBlossom. Then I made a texture in Photoshop. I decided to make this kind of hairy kind of feel. This will make sense, I promise you. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, just an artistic decision that I made. I then unwrapped it. I didn't have to unwrap it how I usually do because I'm going to do a procedural texture here. I'm not going to be painting this one because, well, there are too many tendrils and I didn't feel like it, and I think the procedural method will work just fine. I then make the procedural textures and all of the neural maps and everything I needed. I then started to make the lower LOD models. For the LOD1, I just duplicated and then manually went through to decimate the geometry to get as low possible as I can, without losing too much quality. For the LOD2 model, I only used the hair particles and delete the rest, as it wouldn't be really visible and the hair particles would be the most, I then went through my favorite process of packing all the textures, and then unwrapping all of the meshes for the wind shader, projecting from view so I get a from the bottom to top that was explained in a previous video. And then I went ahead and export everything as an FBX, imported into Unity, and made sure all of my settings was correct on all of the textures. Making sure it's 1024 for these ones because that's the actual size, and making sure that it's seeing the alpha channel on my RGBS texture. I didn't go through using the shaders I previously created and making materials for the SkyBlossom. I then added some emission to the hairs to kind of make it more mystic and glowy. These hairs are supposed to be soft and delicate, not really sharp. And what is the lore behind this plant? Well, while you admire the final result, I'll tell a bit about the lore. So basically this is a plant that evolved from the air plant, or the Tillandsia. It primarily gathers its water and resources from the air, that's why it has a lot of volume. And in fact, it gathers so much moisture that most of it goes into the ground, allowing for its seeds to grow big enough to gather its own water. Coincidentally, other plants and humans and animals are actually using the water from the island. And that is because it doesn't rain on most islands, so this plant is very necessary for the life and prosperity of most living creatures on each island. Whew. After finishing the model, I then went up and fixed some of the grass that I had previously. I did make a completely new wind shader, which is really interesting. Then I decided to import some of the old trees back in. First I had to make the wind map for most of these trees, so that it actually flows properly in the wind. I was only going to do 2 or 3, but decided to do all of them just to get it out of the way. Well, at least the UV unwrapping. And well, that is about all for this day. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.